Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's start out with a little bit of warm-up. And we will start with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. Yeah, it's pretty close to the line. All I'm trying to do is get some perspective of the line that we see here in 7290. Do you see that line? Yes, that line we see in 7290. Can you also see in 7287? Correct, correct. Now we have a perspective. We know that this liquid is on both in the east and westbound lanes, correct, correct. And do you know, as a matter of certainty, whether the liquid started spilling out, assuming it's from this accident from the eastbound or the westbound lanes, or don't you know? I don't know for a fact. Okay, we can see what was referenced as a pool of blood in 7299, correct? Yes, when Officer Harris documented the blood on exhibit on page 5, the real factual diagram in this accident. He documented this blood, true, correct, and this blood you can see from this photo is more in the westbound lane than the eastbound lane. Can you see that? Yes. All right. Now this is what is referred to as the pool of blood, correct? Correct. Did you see any other blood at the scene of this accident other than what is depicted in 7299 in Exhibit 14? Just on the rear of the minivan. I mean on the roadway. No. Okay, did you see where Bill Watson was bleeding from? I don't recall. I remember seeing blood on his face area, but I'm not sure exactly where he was bleeding from. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much. I just have one follow-up. Okay. All right, you indicated that. Let me just find it actually. Okay, you indicated that you would fault Mr. Watson for steering to the left. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. Object as calling for speculation. Okay, why? And it calls for expert testimony. It's irrelevant, and it's, in fact, let me make this objection, that it's speculative, lacks foundation, calls for expert opinion, vague and ambiguous, and it's irrelevant. And I'll use those for all the following objections. Go ahead. Because any time that you're traveling on a roadway, you should be traveling at a distance behind the vehicle in front of you at a safe enough speed in order to bring your vehicle to a stop in case there's any type of hazard in the roadway or the vehicle in front of you makes some type of evasive maneuver. Thank you. Is that how you see people drive when you patrol the freeways? No. You see people drive where they bring their car to stop safely if something was to happen? No. Not calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible evidence. Okay, that's all. Thank you, officer. Let me propose actually, we can use the same stipulation that we had for Volume 1 and for Volume 2. Is that fine? That's fine. And we'll extend the timeout, obviously, because it is going to take another couple weeks for Volume 2 to get to the officer. And I'd like to make sure he receives all the exhibits as well. Yes. So he'll have those available to him. I just request the exhibits be separately bound. All right, so a little warm-up. Now let's try some Q&A practice from our transcript. And we will start with the court. Ready? Here we go. At this time, the court calls State of Wisconsin versus Stephen Avery, case number 05CF381. We are here this morning for the continuation of the trial in this matter. Will the parties again state their appearances for the record? State appears by Calumet County District Attorney Ken Kratz, Assistant Attorney General Tom Fallon, and Assistant DA Norm Gahn, all appearing as special prosecutors. Good morning. Stephen Avery is here in person again, and Jerome Budding and Dean Strang representing him. All right, I will indicate for the record that before we began, I met in chambers with counsel briefly to discuss the agenda for the day. It's my understanding that after we bring the jury out, the state is going to first complete the demonstration associated with the last witness yesterday in the form of an animation, and that the parties are agreeable to the state presenting that animation without Mr. Austin being recalled to the stand. That's right, I understand. It's just going to be played once straight through without narration, and that's fine. Okay, and the parties were also discussing a potential stipulation for the court relating to the testimony of the next witness. Judge, the prosecution team has discussed that we would entertain such a stipulation, but only after we hear what the cross-examination is of this next witness. The state is unwilling to enter into a stipulation at this time, but I will candidly tell the court that if the cross goes as expected and as represented, it is very likely that we will agree to that request. Yes. All right, Mr. Strang. I can't force a stipulation. Okay, very well. We'll address that matter then after we complete Mr. Dassey's testimony. Anything else to take up before we bring in the jury? Anything else before we bring in the jury, counsel? No, Your Honor. I don't think so, Judge. All right. The jury can be called in. You may be seated, members of the jury, before we get started with the first witness today. You may recall that there was a short animation scheduled to be shown at the end of Mr. Austin's testimony yesterday. I'm informed that the technical difficulties have now been ironed out, and counsel has agreed to present the animation to the jury without recalling Mr. Austin to the stand. Is that correct, counsel? Yes, Judge. All right, Mr. Kratz, you may proceed. For the record, Judge, that was exhibit number 117117. That's all we have for Trooper Austin. Thank you, Judge. Thank you. And before we took the testimony of Mr. Austin yesterday, I believe we left off with cross-examination of Bobby Dassey. So at this time, you can bring Mr. Dassey in, and the defense can begin their cross-examination. Can we approach just briefly? Sure. Members of the jury, as you can see, the picture on the computer screen there is a little out of kilter. We have a technical person who is going to adjust the projector. It sounds like it's a setting on the projector. It's something during the break that the techs can take care of. All right. Can you switch that over to Elmo? Sure. Please raise your right hand. Please be seated. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. Bobby Dassey, D-A-S-S-E-Y. Welcome back. Good morning. Did you grow up on the salvage yard that you described living at yesterday? Just my high school years in school. That is, you were living with your mom, yes, with Barb Janda, yes. You described your stepdad yesterday, right? Yeah, Tom. His name was Tom. Is Tom Janda? Yes. Your mom is now married to another fellow named Scott Tadich? Yes. You are the second of 4 boys? Yes. All of you have the last name Dassey, yes. From Pete Dassey, yes. Your natural father, yes. And Brian is older than you, yes. Then there is you, Bobby, yes. All right, then we have got Brendan. No, I'm sorry. We have got Blaine, yes. And Brendan is the youngest of the 4 brothers, yes. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.